in several different ways.
Hello and welcome. We are live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. US House approves legislation to provide $95 billion security assistance to Ukraine. Israel and Taiwan sends to Senate. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan meets Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Istanbul, discusses efforts to reach regional peace. Maldives to hold 20th parliamentary elections on Sunday. 368 candidates in the fray for the 93 seats of People's Majlis. And holders Manchester City reach FA Cup final, beat Chelsea 1-0 at Wembley. Bernardo Silva scores late goal for the citizens. The US House of Representatives has passed a series of bills that are expected to provide much-needed aid to Ukraine and Israel. The passage of the four bills comes after weeks of stalling by Republican lawmakers. The Senate still needs to vote on the legislation. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
Well, it's taken many months and plenty of political wrangling, but that enormous $96 billion foreign aid package has now passed the House of Representatives, where it has been languishing for weeks. The only way that the House Speaker, Republican Mike Johnson, was able to get this passed was by breaking it up into four individual aid packages, essentially based on different regions. So the largest proportion of that money, $61 billion, went to Ukraine, about $26 billion to Israel. Taiwan and allies in the Indo-Pacific got $8 billion, and then there was a separate bill that looked at a whole range of different issues, including a potential ban on the app TikTok, sanctions on Iran, China, and also looking to seize Russian assets. That, in many ways, was a way to sweeten the deal to help the hardline conservatives that have been fighting this aid package for many weeks to try and help to get them on board. But bear in mind, many of them still voted against these four bills, and the only way that the House Speaker was able to get it passed was by relying on the Democrats in the House of Representatives.
These are not normal times, they're not. The world is destabilized, and it's a tinderbox. It's a dangerous time. Three of our primary adversaries, Russia and Iran and China, are working together, and they're being aggressors around the globe. And they're a global threat to our prosperity and our security. Their advance threatens the free world, and it demands American leadership. If we turn our backs right now, the consequences could be devastating. So this afternoon, the House acted, and we sent over to the Senate, and it will be transmitted shortly, our supplemental national security legislation.
And that now could potentially cost Mike Johnson, a Republican, his job as Speaker of the House. There is a threat to oust him. At least three Republicans have come forward threatening a potential vote, a vote that could come in the coming days. And if there is enough support, we could see him thrown out of the job, a job he's only been in for several months. Now, this has passed the House of Representatives, these four foreign aid bills. They'll now be moving on to the Senate, and we're expecting votes as early as Tuesday. We're likely to see a swift package, in particular the aid for Ukraine, Israel, and for Taiwan. And the US President Joe Biden has said as soon as it gets to his desk, he will sign off on these, giving much needed aid packages to those foreign conflicts, aid that President Biden is fighting for and has been wanting to try and get passed for many months now. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed gratitude to the US after the House passed a bill providing additional funds to Ukraine in its ongoing conflict against Russia. Zelensky said the support still to be approved by the US Senate will be used by his country to bring a just end to this conflict. Thanks to each and everyone who supported our package. This is the decision to protect lives. I would like to personally thank Speaker Mike Johnson and all American hearts who, like us in Ukraine, feel that Russian evil must not win. I hope that the package will get considered in the US Senate and forwarded to President Biden fast enough. We appreciate every manifestation of support for our state and our independence, our people and our life, which Russia wants to bury in ruins so much. America has shown its leadership from the first days of this war. US leaders from Democratic President Joe Biden to stop Senate Republican Mitch McConnell had been urging embattled Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson to bring the bill up for a vote. US President Joe Biden said in a statement that the bill comes at a moment of grave urgency, with Israel facing unprecedented attacks from Iran and Ukraine under continued bombardment from Russia. The legislation now proceeds to the Democratic majority Senate, which passed a similar measure more than 2 months ago. The Senate is expected to pass the measure next week, sending it to Biden to sign into law. Now, NATO and EU chiefs on Saturday hailed the US House of Representatives' approval of a long-awaited $61 billion aid package for Ukraine and urged the Senate to quickly clear the bill. NATO chief in a statement said that passing of this bill demonstrates the continued bipartisan support for Ukraine. He said this significant boost in aid will supplement the tens of billions of aid being provided to Ukraine by European allies. He urged Senate to pass the bill and send it to President Biden. And a bipartisan majority of the US House of Representatives voted on Saturday in favor of a bill that could effectively ban the TikTok app in the United States. The House of Representatives voted 360 to 58 on the updated ban bill. The initial version of the bill had faced a roadblock in the Senate before this move. Earlier, a standalone bill with a 6-month deadline for selling TikTok had received overwhelming bipartisan support in the House back in March. Both Democrats and Republicans had expressed concerns about national security due to the app's ownership by the Chinese tech company. The revised legislation will now head to the Senate. And in the first since Israel began its campaign in Gaza, a Hamas delegation headed by Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh met with Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan. Haniyeh's visit to Turkey took place 3 days after he held talks with Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan in Doha. Erdogan discussed efforts to deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza and reach a fair and lasting peace in the region with Haniyeh during a meeting in Istanbul. The Turkish presidency said the two sides discussed issues related to Israel's attacks, efforts for adequate and uninterrupted delivery of humanitarian aid to Gaza, and a fair and lasting peace process in the region. The visit also came amid escalating regional tensions after Israel's reported attack on Iran this week. Erdogan emphasized during the meeting that Israel should not benefit from the development between Iran and Israel. Moving on to our next story now, the Maldives will hold 20th parliamentary polls on Sunday. 8 political parties are vying for control of the People's Majlis, fielding a total of 368 candidates across 93 constituencies. These polls are litmus tests for President Muizzu and his policies, as he has been emphasizing the importance of securing a pro-government majority in Parliament. Total 602 polling stations set up across constituencies and 3 stations overseas in Colombo, in Sri Lanka, Trivandrum in India and Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Election campaigning is in full swing, and so is the fundraising battle in US for the upcoming presidential elections. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump's election campaign reported on Saturday raised $15 million in March, a significant increase from the prior month. Trump has persistently trailed Democratic President Joe Biden in fundraising as they prepare to face off in November 5 presidential elections. It was not clear from his financial disclosures submitted to the Federal Election Commission if Trump gained any ground in the fundraising battle. Biden was also due on Saturday to report his campaign's financial situation at the end of March. Trump previously reported he raised nearly $11 million in February. Japan's Defense Minister Minoru Kihara on Sunday said that two SH-60K helicopters belonging to the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force crashed during nighttime training. Kihara said that the helicopters lost contact late Saturday near Torishima Island in the Pacific south of Tokyo. Each helicopter was carrying 4 crew members. 7 of the 8 people on board the 2 aircraft are unaccounted for. The cause of the crash is yet to be determined. Officials are actively investigating the incident. Now, the campaigners are warning about wide-ranging consequences of new migration rules that have come into effect in the United Kingdom. Immigration is a big theme ahead of the country's general elections due later this year, leading the government to tighten the rules on moving to the country. Dear India correspondent Julia Chapman reports from London.
There are many reasons why foreign citizens choose to move to the UK. Working and studying are among the most common. Blessing, not her real name, left her home in Nigeria to pursue a degree in the UK. She chose the country because it allowed students to bring their families with them. But to her surprise, the visa applications for her 3 children were rejected, even though she has sole custody.
It's really difficult for a single woman with children here. I don't know, I might be wrong, but I think that's where they're looking out. As in, how will you take care of these children? I want you at the end of the day come to us for help. So we're not used to government taking care of us. It's never been, and I don't think it will be. So we're not expecting that.
After finishing her studies, Blessing decided to stay to become a care worker, looking after elderly people with dementia. She's among dozens of women in her field who have been denied the opportunity to bring their dependents with them. Those rejections were made even before the tighter rules came into effect.
The women came, they wanted to settle for 2 to 3 months. They did, then made the applications only to learn that the Home Office turned that against them by giving the reason that they didn't meet the sole responsibility test and that whoever they left their children with back in their home countries, those children can stay there. So bearing in mind that some of these children were left with neighbours, with nannies, with elderly parents or grandparents, with friends.
The care sector faces a huge labour shortage, forcing employers to recruit from abroad. The government says it doesn't expect its new policy to have a major impact because of high levels of global labour supply. But the industry warns that the best candidates will be put off if they can't bring their families. It isn't just care workers affected by new Home Office rules. Master's students are also no longer able to bring families with them when they come to the UK to study. And even British citizens are facing higher income thresholds to bring family members that hold foreign passports. The government says this is all part of its plan to bring down net migration, which it insists will create a fairer society for British people. Blessing is now submitting fresh visa applications for her children. If she's unsuccessful, she plans to leave the UK. She says no job is worth separating her family any longer. Julia Chapman in London, reporting for DD India.
And thousands of people protested in Spain's Tenerife on Saturday, calling for the island to temporarily limit tourist arrivals. The organization say local authorities should temporarily limit visitor numbers to alleviate pressure on the island's environment, infrastructure and housing stock and put curbs on property purchases by foreigners. Authorities in the islands are concerned about the impact on locals. A draft law expected to pass this year, toughening the rules on short lets, follows complaints from residents priced out of the housing market. Canary Islands President Fernando Clavijo said on Friday he felt proud that the region was a leading Spanish tourist destination, but acknowledged that more controls were needed as the sector continues to grow. In a significant development for the maritime operations, the Port of Baltimore has inaugurated a third temporary channel to facilitate the entry and departure of boats. The debris and wreckage removal will help opened an access channel allowing one-way ship traffic to the port of Baltimore. The Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed into the Patapsco River in the early morning of March 26, killing 6 men after the massive container ship lost power and crashed into a support pylon. The bodies of 2 victims are still missing. Replacing the bridge will likely take years, but authorities have opened 2 temporary channels to allow some shallow draft vessels to move around the stricken container vessel. "25 years ago, a shooting incident shook Colorado. On April 20th, 1999, 2 students stormed through the school armed with multiple guns, killing 12 students and 1 teacher before fatally turning the guns on themselves in the library. In 1999, the nation watched in horror that day as television aired live images of students fleeing the building while police surrounded it. Bloodied students were attended to by first responders, and others tearfully embraced each other as terrified parents arrived at the school waiting for news about their children. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris spoke with a survivor of the 1999 school massacre to mark the incident's 25th anniversary. The survivor of the incident shared her horrific tale and explained that it took her 20 years to seek professional trauma therapy. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris said more needed to be done to tackle gun violence in the country. And U.S. President Joe Biden took to X to mark the anniversary of the shooting. This is what he wrote. "Today marks 25 years since 13 innocent lives were taken at Columbine High School. As we remember the victims, Congress must act to keep our schools safe. Our kids, educators, school officials and all Americans deserve nothing less. I sign into law the most significant gun safety reform in nearly 3 decades, but Congress must do more. We need universal background checks, a national red flag law, and we must ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines." All right, we'll step in a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Mahavir Jayanti on Sunday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate the 2550th Bhagwan Mahavir Nirvan Mahotsav in the national capital, New Delhi. Campaigning underway for the second phase of India's general elections, leaders of all major political parties to hold rallies. And in Munich Open, Yuki Bhamri and Albano Olivetti will take on Theo Aribag and Victor Cornia in men's doubles final on Sunday.
Traditional knowledge can often help us gain new prospects for the future. Speaking of traditions, what did you have for lunch today?
We thought that through Sputnik Farms, we can try to create more resilient and more sustainable kind of food system.
We wanted to recover the art of weaving we knew as children. We founded the Nurupu Collective, which aims to improve the situation of weavers here.
By working with this parametric modeling, we can change the city and visualize it in several different ways. So that's a very strong mechanism in the digital twin, just working with parametric visualization.
In the IPCC, we have a range of different climate modelling scenarios, ranging from low emission scenarios to really high emission scenarios, and kind of everything in between.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. On the auspicious occasion of Mahavir Jayanti, Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate the 2550th Bhagwan Mahavir Nirvan Mahotsav in the national capital, New Delhi, on Sunday. On the occasion, Prime Minister will release a commemorative stamp and coin. He will also address the gathering. Bhagwan Mahavir, the 24th Tirthankar, illuminated the path of peaceful coexistence and universal brotherhood through Jain principles. Let's now get you the latest on the world's largest democratic elections in India. Campaigning for the second phase of election scheduled for April 26 gains momentum. Political parties engaged to garner support from voters to their respective parties. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to visit northwestern state Rajasthan on Sunday, where he will be holding public meetings in Jalore and Banswara. Senior BJP leader and Union Home Minister Amit Shah to visit West Bengal, Bihar and Assam will campaign for the second phase of the Lok Sabha elections. Also, BJP National President JP Nadda to campaign in Karnataka and will also hold a meeting with party officials discussing the strategy of the party, focusing on the second phase polling. And the leaders of India Alliance also crisscrossing states to garner support in favor of the candidates. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi will address a public meeting in central India's Satna. Congress General Secretary Priyanka Vadra will address the election meeting in favor of Congress candidate Bhupesh Baghel in Chhattisgarh, Dongargaon. And the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha is scheduled to kick off its poll campaign in the state with a Ulgulan or Revolution rally in Ranchi. Many leaders, including Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge, Rahul Gandhi, Lalu Prasad, Farooq Abdullah, Akhilesh Yadav and Sunita Kejriwal, wife of Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal, will participate in opposition in the Alliance Ulgulan rally. Bahujan Samaj Party's National President Mayawati is scheduled to address the election rallies in North India's Ghaziabad and Amroha. Now let's take a look at other stories making news today. BJP leader and party's candidate for the Lok Sabha seat in India's Uttar Pradesh, Kumar Sarvesh Singh, passed away on Saturday following a prolonged illness. BJP's Kumar Sarvesh Singh was a strong leader of the party in Uttar Pradesh. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath, expressed grief on the sudden demise of the leader. At least 4 dead after walls of crematorium collapse in India's Gurugram. The authorities have initiated an investigation into the causes of the incident, and the police team is ensuring that all necessary legal procedures are followed. Rescue operations are underway. Repair works underway after several bogies of a train derailed near India's Ayodhya junction, officials said, adding that no injuries were reported in the incident. Authorities launched a rescue operation to determine the cause of the incident. No loss of life reported in the derailment. A fire broke out on the 9th floor of a residential building in Mumbai. Authorities confirmed that there were no reports of any injuries or casualties in the fire incident. Fire tenders reached the spot after receiving the information and started an operation to bring the fire under control. Moderate rainfall brings relief to India's Bengaluru after nearly 5 months of dry weather. India's weather authorities predicts thunderstorms, lightning and gusty winds to batter several parts of Karnataka, giving people a short respite from the sweltering heat. Sports now. In a high-voltage showdown at Wembley Stadium, Manchester City secured their spot in the FA Cup final with a narrow 1-0 victory over Chelsea. Bernardo Silva emerged as a hero, slotting home a crucial goal in the 84th minute. Both teams displayed relentless determination in an intense end-to-end battle with opportunities flowing on both ends of the pitch. City's attacking trio of De Bruyne, Phil Foden and Jack Grealish kept the pressure on Chelsea's defence, while Chelsea's Nicholas Jackson and Cole Palmer tested City's goalkeeper Stefan Ortega with their shots. With this hard-fought win, Manchester City now awaits the outcome of the clash between Manchester United and Coventry City to determine their opponent in the final showdown slated for May 25th. Indian wrestler Vinesh Fogart secures a quota for the Paris Olympics in the women's 50 kg category on Saturday. The 29-year-old wrestler did not concede a single point at the Asian Olympic qualifier in Bishkek, capital of Kyrgyzstan. Her achievement marks India's second berth at the Paris Games following Antim Pangal's bronze medal winning performance in the 53 kg category at the World Championships last year. Despite facing challenges, Vinesh showcased her strength and experience throughout the tournament, swiftly defeating her opponents. Fogart has now booked her third consecutive Olympic quota, having previously represented India in the Rio Games in 2016 and Tokyo in 2020. The World Qualifiers are scheduled on May 9th in Turkey. Indian wrestlers still have another opportunity to secure quota for the Paris Games. And in Munich Open, India's Yuki Bhamri and his French partner Albano Olivetti will take on Theo Aribage and Victor Cornia in men's doubles final on Sunday. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.